You ever wake up and realize your whole life's become a test case for some international criminal empire? I mean it, this morning I stood in a cloud of dust and lake mist watching what used to be a $300,000 illegal mansion built smack in the middle of my property crumble under the bucket of an excavator. I drove myself, and the only person crying harder than my neighbor's designer wallet was the so-called victim in the story, Lauren Clark. She's standing in the wreckage heels, sinking into the mud, tears streaking down her perfectly powdered face, screaming that I'm the criminal. Yeah, that happened. My hands are still shaking from the adrenaline. You want to know the punchline? The HOA, led by Lauren and her lawyer army, just slapped me with a $2 million lawsuit because I tore down their community enhancement project, which was basically a luxury lakefront compound they built on land my grandfather worked every inch of. Let me back up a second, because this isn't just another HOA gone wild story. This is organized crime, weaponized bureaucracy, and a local community thrown into the blender with some of the worst people you'll ever meet. And somehow it all landed in my lap. Name's Dylan Freeman. About 3 hours ago, I was just another rural craftsman making custom tables and living on the property my family's owned since '47. Now I'm a federal witness in a criminal case that's got more twists than a sack of snakes. My best friend, Tank Sheriff's deputy veteran and the only guy who can swap out of his uniform into an excavator cab without missing a beat, was with me for the whole thing. "Demo's done, brother," he said, tossing me the keys and grinning like a kid. The kind of smile that means justice is served. Except, if you ask Lauren, the only injustice is that her marble countertops and gold-plated bathtubs are now scrap metal, buried under honest lake stones. My wife Helen, who, by the way, spent 2 decades as an investigative reporter before we moved out here for peace and quiet, caught every second on her news-grade camera. She's calling out Dylan, get her face when she sees the feds watching. Turns out Helen's been working angles on this story I didn't even know existed. It started 3 months back, one of those muggy mornings where you can smell the lake before you see it. I do a sunrise walk along the northern shoreline, part meditation, part tradition, ever since my old man passed. That's when I found it gleaming glass imported palm trees, an artificial beach, and a smart home system chirping, "Welcome to paradise on my land." For a second, I wondered if I'd wandered into some reality show prank. Checked my phone, double-checked the survey lines. Nope, dead center of Freeman territory. Lauren Clark pulls up in a Tesla, pops out in all white, like she's running for suburban sainthood, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than my first car. "Mr. Freeman, we need to discuss community development protocols," she says, flipping open a folder stuffed with legalese. "Permit surveys, environmental assessments." The whole thing looked official until Helen's eagle eye spotted the fraud dates didn't line up, signatures looked off, and every document funneled back to the Willow Lake HOA. I tell Lauren plain as day, "Your palace is trespassing." She flashes the corporate smile, launches into a sales pitch about shared resource optimization. It was like talking to a robot built in a lawyer factory. Her confidence was bulletproof, which should have been my first red flag. She's done this before, and she's got county officials in her back pocket. I know this because Elena Stone, my neighbor, started hovering nearby, clearly wanting to say something but scared stiff of Lauren's retaliation. And that's when things went from bad to, well, criminal. My cameras got hacked. Not just glitched, straight up hijacked, feeding my every move back to Lauren's operation. Tank's tech buddy confirmed it. This is pro-level surveillance, not some kid with a laptop. We started feeding them fake info planting, decoy conversations, the whole 9 yards. I mean, if they wanted to watch, we'd give them a show. But then the attacks got personal. My bank started freezing accounts, insurance dropped us without warning, and custom orders for my furniture business dried up overnight. Anonymous complaints hit Helen's clients. My father's medical records got leaked to support rumors about my instability, and suddenly neighbors were crossing the street to avoid me. This was psychological warfare coordinated from the top down. That's when Elena finally reached out, secret meeting 2 towns over, middle of the night. She used to be Lauren's secretary, got canned for asking too many questions. She'd been collecting evidence for years. Financial records, bribery payments, surveillance logs, it was all there. County officials, environmental inspectors, even zoning managers were on Lauren's payroll. Elena handed us the blueprints to the whole criminal enterprise. Tank looped in his federal contacts. That's when the picture got even uglier. This wasn't just local corruption. Lauren's ring was part of a regional property seizure scheme, environmental violations, forged permits, systematic harassment, targeting families across state lines. And the worst part, they were testing responses, refining techniques, learning how to break people until they gave up their land or went broke fighting back. Helen, meanwhile, was feeding info to the feds. Turns out her old journalism buddies had connections in places I didn't even know existed. Federal agents started circling. Evidence preservation, witness protection, words I'd never wanted to hear outside a movie. And right on cue, Lauren cranked up the pressure. False police reports, environmental inspections, motions for injunctions, even an anonymous tip that nearly triggered foreclosure on our mortgage. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. The real rat in the system wasn't Lauren, it was her own husband, Michael Clark. He'd been playing double agent, recording conversations, copying financial records, and get this, had his own offshore money laundering networks that tied back to the cartel funding the whole operation. 20 years sleeping next to the queen pin, and he flipped because he realized she was just a cog in something even bigger, international development cartels running coordinated attacks on rural property across America. The federal sting unfolded in slow motion. Early morning raid feds in tactical gear, news cameras rolling as Lauren, dressed to the nines for a TV interview about community unity, got cuffed for racketeering, money laundering, environmental fraud, and conspiracy to commit economic terrorism. The sight of Tank in a federal task force jacket, grinning ear to ear, was almost worth all the hell we'd gone through. But even as Lauren's empire collapsed, that nagging feeling didn't go away. The case cracked open operations in 12 states, evidence of training, surveillance, and psychological ops designed to wipe out American property rights for international profiteers. Elena became a federal witness, her story at the center of a new training program for rural communities. Helen's reporting got picked up by prosecutors nationwide, turning our ordeal into a warning shot for every family from Texas to Michigan. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Lauren tried to sue me for $2 million from federal detention, claiming I destroyed community investments. The judge nearly laughed her out of court, awarded me $750 or $1,000 for damages and harassment, and cited the case as precedent for fighting back against systematic property theft. But the weirdest part, Lauren smiled at the verdict like she knew something the rest of us didn't. And then, just as we're finally breathing again, the email hits my inbox. Lakefront Development International, Phase 2 implementation. Sent from some offshore server in a country I can't pronounce. One sentence, Phase 1 complete. Beginning Phase 2. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, was this all just the first round? Are we the canary in the coal mine for some next-level land grab? Now my days are quieter. I teach neighbor kids to fish, sit on the dock my father built, and hope the worst is behind us. But every time I see a new face at the edge of the lake, I remember that boat speeding away during the demolition and wonder if the next attack's already being planned in a boardroom half a world away. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line when your home, your land, your family legacy is on the line? What would you sacrifice to defend it? Drop your wildest conspiracy theory in the comments, or just tell me where you stand on justice, right and wrong, or what it means to own a piece of this country. And if you want to hear what happens when Phase 2 drops, because you know it's coming, hit that like button, comment Part 2. And let's make sure nobody fights this battle alone ever again. This isn't just my story, it's every American's fight.